Alright y'all, Bubba here again. Today I'm going to show you how I make a template for a knife sheath. I got to make a template first before I cut the leather so I don't go around wasting leather. And the sheath I'm making is going to go on an old hickory 10-inch butcher. And I'm making the standard fold over sheath. And when you do this, to make sure it fits good and tight, you want to come up on the handle a little bit. And I'm probably going to come to about right here. There's two ways to make the template. One of the ways is using a paper tape. You wrap the paper tape around it, the handle. Now this handle kind of wedges out, so I'm going to measure a little bit lower. That way, as it slides in, it gets a little tighter. And you want to leave about 3/8 of an inch from the knife to the end because you want to figure in the welt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this over here and just eyeball, and then look at my tape, make sure I got about a 1/2 inch like that right there, and I'm sitting at 5 inches. Now on this one, the widest part of the blade is down here. So what I want to do is I'm going to eyeball down the tape. I'm going to move it back until I can see that, and I don't have enough with 5 inches. So I'm going to move it to about 5.5. That added a 1/2 inch. I got about exactly a 1/2 inch showing. That would be my welt. Yep. So I'm sitting at 5.5 inches. 5.5 inches is going to be my measurement. And what I'm going to do is use this graph paper here. It's the long graph paper because it's a long knife. I done made a center line on it. And I'm going to take my 5.5 inches and I'm going to measure on either side of this and put a dot on the line. Now 1/2 of 5 is 2.5. 1/2 of 1/2 is 1/4. So I'm going to go to 2.5, add 1/4. That's 2 3/4 on each side. And I'm going to make a mark. Right here. Just to double check, I'm going to go 2 3/4 right there. Pull that up. I'm sitting exactly 5.5. Go down here. Make me a mark at 2 3/4. And then 2 3/4 makes 5.5. 5.5. 5.5. And I'm going to take my ruler here. I'm going to make that whole entire line black so that I can see it. Now you don't have to use graph paper. It does make it a little easier using graph paper because you got a line at every 1/4 inch, and it just makes measuring things a whole lot easier. Alright, once I got that, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to double check, set this spine on it, the center line, fold it over, and I'm looking at almost 1 inch of excess. Now you got to think about the leather when it wraps around. It's going to be bigger than you need. Boy, no. When you roll it over, it's not going to be completely flat. The leather's going to bend. I need a 1/2 inch for a welt, 3/8 to a 1/2 inch for my welt, and then a 1/2 inch on each side, which is going to make 1 inch total of bend. So I should be almost exactly where I need to be. And then what I'm going to do is I got this bowl right here, and I'm going to come down to the bottom. I'm going to stick my pen, I think y'all can see that, right here at the bottom. Stick this bowl on it, and I'm going to move that bowl till it gets to that line, and it makes the tip. Now this tip is really, really close to the angle of my blade. Now, and I can adjust that a little bit. I can get a different shaped bowl. You can actually stick your knife on there and use that and freehand it. A bowl usually works easier sometimes. This is not the bowl that I would normally use, but I don't know where it is. To be honest, I think a dog ate it. So I want to sharpen that up a little bit. I could get a different shaped bowl. I could use several different things, but I'm just going to go with that because I think I like the way it worked. So I'm going to stick that right there. Stick my pin right there, move that. Go over to the line on the other side and trace it. Now look at your graph paper, make sure they came out the same way. I like that. And mine did not. So put my pin. What was off? Put my pin right there again. Line it up. Now it does. I was a little off for some reason. I think because I bent my pen when I moved it. But now it does. Alright. Now basically when I fold this over, I'm going to have the shape I want in relation to my knife blade. Alright. Now I'm going to take a measurement. I want probably, you still want enough when it's in the sheath to grab a hold to, and I usually figure about 2 fingers is enough. So I'm probably going to come about to the K right here in Old Hickory. Now you can make a mark on it if you want to. This is actually mine. This isn't the customer's, but yeah, this ruler's not long enough. But I have a paper tape right here that is, and it's sitting at about 12.5 from the tip to the K. Set that to the side, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to leave myself about 1 inch at this bottom here. You can either measure 1 inch, not 1 inch, a 1/2 inch, enough for the welt, 3/8 to a 1/2 inch. You can either lay your knife there, get a good eyeball on it. You can use your tape, your ruler, or if you got graph paper, you can know that one square is a 1/4, the next square is a 1/2. So that's where I'm going to measure from up to, what did I say, 12.5? My bad. I think I said 12.5 to the K. Yeah, 12.5 to the K. So grab this, mark that there, and go to 12.5. Now, 12.5 is where I want to be. And I've got that marked. And that's going to be the top of my sheath. So that when the knife sits down in here, that right there, that's how much blade is going to be sunk down in there. That line right there. Now, when you're doing this, you don't want to square these up. You actually want to come down, I think y'all can see me, at an angle. You don't want to go straight across. You don't want those straight sharp edges. On this side it's not going to be as important, but I'm just going to come down about a 1/2 inch like that right there, and that's going to be one side. Same thing on this side. Now you can draw that straight line if you want to. It'll actually look pretty good with a straight line. Don't know why I was trying to freehand it. Draw your straight line. And that's where the graph paper comes in handy. Easier to measure without having to break out a ruler. Boom. Alright. See, good thing I didn't draw a straight line right there. I went down 2 squares, which is a 1/2 inch. And that's going to give me a little bit of an angle. Now, and on this side, I'm going to do the belt loop. And I'm going to do the belt loop at about 1 inch. Now, my trusty steel ruler here is an exact 1 inch. and I want to get it in the center of this right here. So you can measure, or you can realize that these squares are great measuring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 squares. 5.5. I got a bulb. I got an amp. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 is my center line. I'm gonna make it exactly 1 inch. And I want it straight. That's what I'm doing now, is I'm getting it straight. Alright, and that right there is going to be my belt loop. And I probably want that about 4 inches. Where am I at here? I'm right at 4.25 inches. So that's about where I need to be. And now, what I was saying about don't want sharp edges on leather, come right here and freehand up 1/4 or so, and then come do the same thing right here. That don't look center, does it? What did I do? You know, you see what I'm saying? 1, 2.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. I was off. What was I thinking? What was I doing? 1, 2, 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. Evidently, I did not pay attention when I did that. So I'm probably not going to erase that and let y'all see that I mess up just like anybody else. And that still gives me 4.25, give or take. And I'm still going to round that up. Round, same graph, that. That's all to your liking. See how I rounded it like that? I could actually probably come down, instead of going 2, come down to 1. I think I'll do that right there. Come down 1 and do it like that. That way it's not so drastic. And the purpose of that is because you don't want this sharp angle right here on your leather. It's going to make stress points that'll tear a lot easier. So I'm going to come right here with it and bend up the leather. And that right there is basically all you need to do for your whole entire sheath. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 1/4, because 1/4 is almost exactly 1 inch. And I'm going to set 1/4 at the top of this to make my round part for the end of it. Now if you have one of those fancy little what are those things called? Those little things we had when we was kids. They had all the different size circles. You can have one of those and stick that on there and make your circle. That's going to be the part that folds down and sews on. So there's my belt loop right there. 4.5 inches. You're going to have about a 1/2 inch or so of bend, and then about 1 inch or so is going to get lost for stitching or snaps, whatever I decide to do. And the average belt's, 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches. So that'll leave you plenty enough room for that belt to go through. And let me cut this out and we'll show you what I'm working with here. Alright, y'all. I got that cut out. And that's basically going to be what I cut the leather out of. What I used to cut the leather. You fold it like that right there if you want to see how it's going to fit around the knife before you go to cutting leather. And this will give you a pretty close estimate where you're at. And if you need to add anything, fold that down. And there's your knife sheath. That is a big honking knife. Alright. And I think that's going to work perfect. And that's what I'd use to make a knife sheath. That's how I make a template. Pure and simple. The other way to make a template, take the knife, lay it down on a piece of paper, lay it over, trace it out, lay it over the other way, trace it out, and then you're not done yet. Once you've traced it out, you're going to have to add, excuse me folks, you're going to have to add for your welt and then the bend to the back of the leather sheath. You're going to have to figure that in, usually a 1/2 inch on either side. That way, when you make your template, it's not real short. But this is how mine's going to go, and this is the template I'm going to use to make a sheath for this knife right here. And when it's done, it's going to look like that, a big old sheath. Now remember, how you lay this down on the leather and trace it out is going to be left-handed or right-handed. So when I lay this on the leather and I cut it out and I fold that back, I'm going to know that I want to lay this down like that for my right-handed sheath. If I want to make left-handed, I'm going to fold it over like that. And if you're in the habit of making a bunch of sheaths for this, take this template you made, stick it on like a piece of harder paper, like some construction paper, or a good piece of plastic or something, or paper mache it so it's thicker, and you can put that in a drawer and keep using it, or you can use this in a drawer, but eventually it's going to be more annoying trying to trace this out because this is going to take some beating. But that's how I make a template for a knife sheath. Appreciate y'all watching. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you got any comments or questions, leave them down below, and y'all have a wonderful, blessed weekend. All right, y'all. Take care now.